Husbands, do you know what your wife really needs and what she expects in the marriage relationship? Expectations that are realistic. Tune in to today's broadcast. We're going to share these important keys that will help your relationship, your marriage relationship, be even more successful.
Welcome to Wisdom for Living with Greg Mohr. Join with Greg as he shares truth from the Word of God that will help you grow in wisdom and successfully navigate a balanced life with family, marriage, finances, and relationships. And now, here's Greg.
I'm glad to have you with us again today on Wisdom for Living. We're dedicated to help you grow in wisdom, to grow in maturity, in Christ-likeness, and grow in God's grace and favor. And we just believe these broadcasts are helping you in your personal life, but specifically in this series, we're talking about building a successful marriage relationship. Now, you may have, your marriage may be great, but it can become greater. Your marriage may be good, but it can become gooder. I just want to encourage you that, we can all grow. And anytime we get to a point where we think, well, I know this or I know that, then, we really start digressing. And so I'm sharing with you from really an area of my life that God's just given me a passion for, because my parents were divorced when I was 8 years old, and I was the oldest of 5 children, and I was raised in a single parent home. My mom moved us from Davenport, Iowa to Houston, Texas, and I rarely saw my dad. And so it really marked us as children, and it also put a desire and passion in me. God, show me what a healthy marriage is like. Show me how to build a healthy marriage that will last, that's divorce-proof. And so that's what we're dedicating these times for, is just to help you grow in these things and learn, and then also share them with others. Anyone that you know that's struggling in their marriage relationship, the marriage is precious to God. It's precious, I know to you and to your friends. So there's no stronger foundation or institution besides the Lord, our relationship with the Lord, than the institution of marriage. God instituted marriage before He did the church. So just want to encourage you to stay tuned, or get others to invite others to watch this with you, and I know they'll be blessed. Well, let me tell you these are actual statements that court reporters took word for word in court hearings, and I know they had to keep from laughing while they were recording this. So when an attorney's asking someone that's on the stand a question from an attorney, what's the date of your birth? Answer, July 15th. Question, what year? Answer, every year. Oh, that's greatness. Question, this myasthenia gravis, does it affect your memory at all? Answer, yes. And in what way does it affect your memory? Answer, I forget. Question, you forget. Can you give me an example of something you've forgotten? Oh, that's funny. Question, how old is your son, the one living with you? Answer, 38 or 35. I can't remember which. Question, how long has he lived with you? Answer, 45 years. Oh. Question, what was the first thing your husband said to you when he woke up that morning? Answer, he said, Kathy, where am I? Question, and why did that upset you? Answer, my name is Susan. That's greatness. Question, now doctor, isn't it true that when a person dies in his sleep, He doesn't know about it until the next morning. Oh man, I mean, that doesn't even deserve an answer. Question, so the date of conception of the baby was August 8th. Answer, yes. Question, and what were you doing at that time? Oh man, this is too funny. Question, doctor, before you performed the autopsy, did you check for a pulse? Answer, no. Question, did you check for a blood pressure? Answer, no. Did you check for breathing? Answer, no. So then is it possible that the patient was alive when you began the autopsy? Answer, no. How can you be so sure, doctor? Answer, because his brain was sitting on my desk in a jar. Question, but could the patient still have been alive nevertheless? Answer, not unless he was out practicing law somewhere. Oh, this is funny. That is greatness. You know, we need to laugh. We need to learn. Sometimes we take ourselves too serious, and a merry heart does good, like a medicine. And you know, someone is watching right now, and you're really going through. Someone who's watching is going through a major marriage crisis, and God's just touching my heart with what His compassion that's reaching out to you. And I just want to let you know, listen, He loves you, and you need to run to Him right now. You need to, instead of trying to fix your marriage and try to fix your spouse, you just need to run to Him. You know, you're dealing with a problem, and you haven't been able to get your husband to respond to it. Well, your job isn't to fix your husband. You need to run to the Lord and let Him heal your heart, and then let Him give you wisdom about how to love your husband unconditionally. And I agree with you right now that God's going to turn this thing around. But first of all, He's going to heal and touch your heart. He's going to heal that wounded place in your heart. And then and then you're going to be in a position to minister to your husband. And I encourage you to go online to my website, gregmohr.com, and pick up a copy of my CD series, Healing for a Broken Heart. I'm not sharing that to try to sell product to you. I just really want you to receive healing. I just believe God has healing for your heart. Today, I want to begin to talk about expectations in marriage. What wives need in the relationship, what husbands need in a relationship. And, you know, just begin to share about communicating expectations with your mate. Too many times we're trying to drop hints, and you know, that doesn't work that well, especially with the male gender. We need, you know, we're pretty simple creatures. We just need you to tell us what you want, and we really aim to please. And so, but it's important that we communicate things that we're expecting of our mate. Proverbs 13:12 says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it's a tree of life." And so, unfulfilled expectations produce frustration and cause problems in marriage like nothing else. I've seen it over and over and over again. You know, I've got a couple that's sitting across from me that's having marriage problems. They have got hurt. They've got wounds. They've got walls up between themselves, and they're sitting across from me. And each of them, I'm connecting with each of them individually, but they're not connecting with one another. There's been expectations that they've had. Sometimes they were unreasonable. Some were reasonable. Others were unreasonable. And, you know, I just encourage you, you know, if you're frustrated, if there's unfulfilled expectations in your life, it's going to produce frustration. I encourage you to communicate with your mate and not go at them like this, you know, you always do this and you never do that. when you do that, you've got one finger pointed at them and three pointed back at you. So, but rather appeal to your mate to say, listen, I understand that it's probably, a lot of this is probably my misunderstanding or my misinterpretation of what you meant, but, I need your help. To a man, when you appeal to a man, instead of go at him attacking him, he's much more likely to respond and try to reach out and help you. So, good communication will head off and resolve these problems. It's really unfair for you to expect your mate to fulfill expectations that you've not communicated with your mate. It's really unfair. I mean, you say, yeah, but I want my husband to, I want it to be his idea. Well, really, again, we're really pretty simple creatures, us men. I mean, we're not nearly as complex as the female gender, and sometimes we just don't get it. And in a couple of sessions, we're going to talk about communication and do you hear what I hear? People, men hear different things when women are communicating, and sometimes women hear different things when men are communicating, and we need to get together and I just want to appeal to each of you, whether you're male or female. If you have an expectation in your marriage relationship, you need to share that with your mate and appeal to them so they have opportunity to know what you want, so that they have opportunity to resolve the situation and to keep frustration out of the marriage. Most men are not very good at reading minds, but they do aim to please. And your number one assignment in the marriage relationship is to outserve your spouse and to fulfill their expectations. And what you're going to be tempted to do is to try to meet needs that they don't have, but that you have. We'll share later about some of the love languages, and many times the reason why understanding your mate's love languages are so important is because many times we're trying to minister to our mates out of a need that we have rather than a need that they have. And so, whenever you do that, you may be scratching somewhere that they don't itch. And, it's like the joke about why did it take the three Cub Scouts why did it take three Cub Scouts to help a little old lady across the street? They answered because she didn't want to go. And, the moral of the story is you want to make sure you're serving your mate in a way that he or she wants to be served. It's not your responsibility to hold your mate accountable to fulfill expectations in your life. It's your sole responsibility and mission to passionately devote yourself to becoming the mate that your spouse needs. And listen, you have to understand this. There is no one person on the face of this earth that is ever going to meet all of your needs. Only God can do that. And so we need to take the pressure off of our mates. And again, from our last lesson about getting to know our mates, we need to learn what our mates like and don't like, and what they're expecting, and we need to learn to, and just make it our goal to outserve one another. So it's time to stop focusing on our needs and our rights and get off autopilot and start intentionally feeding your marriage relationship. Are you consistently feeding your marriage relationship, or is it on autopilot? Where you only give attention when warning signs go off. And that's what happens many times. I have couples come in, and typically it's the man, he didn't even have a clue. The husband didn't even have a clue that there was a problem. And he's looking in shock over at his wife. Well, why didn't you tell me this? I would have addressed it. Well, they're just not communicating fully their expectations. And so we've got to get off our autopilot, guys. And we need to intentionally feed our marriage relationship. So, in this lesson, I want to talk about what are realistic expectations that wives need or have. And so husbands, men, you want to sit down and write these things down. I believe it'll be a big help to you. So first of all, a woman needs her husband to love her and value her as a person. Ephesians 5:25 says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. And he goes on to say that he might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word. See, it's our responsibility, husbands, to minister to our wives and value our wives. But notice there it says that you're to, compared the husband's responsibility to what Jesus does, where he washes his wife with words. Well, where he's affirming her. And so, men need to use words. It's usually women that are using words, but it's here he's saying, don't withhold words. Women respond to words, kind words, complimentary words, affectionate words, things that will minister to them. She wants to be verbally affirmed and appreciated by her man, and she's washed from the feelings of unworthiness and insecurity by your words of love and grace. Look at Ephesians 4 and verse 29. Let no corrupt word proceed out of your mouth, but what is good for necessary edification, that it may impart grace to the hearers. And do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, by whom you were sealed for the day of redemption. Let all bitterness, wrath, anger, clamor, and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you. He's just giving you, guys, the recipe for success in relationship there. It's not only what you say, but how you say it. It's being kind, being affectionate, being tender-hearted toward your wives. That's what they need. You need to help her recognize her gifts and her talent with affirming words that places value on the things that she does for you and others. And I'm not talking about flattery, where you're saying things to try to get something back in return. I'm talking about real compliments that add value to her, where you're praying over her and you're thinking about, what do you really appreciate about your wife? And sometimes, my wife has been upset about something, and, I ask her, honey, what's wrong? And she says, nothing. And, whenever your wife says nothing, nothing always means something. But sometimes she doesn't even know what she's upset about, but it's the fact that I haven't, sometimes maybe she's done something around the house or done something for me, and I didn't even recognize it. And that upset her. And so, we need to affirm our wives. We need to place value on them and give them words. She doesn't want to be taken for granted. You need to tell her you love her and you value her in specific ways on a daily basis. The second thing a wife needs is companionship. She was created to be a helper, to complete us and companion with us. In Genesis 2, where God created Eve to be an appropriate helper for man, and a helpmate for man. Husbands, we've got to take the time to cultivate that friendship and that companionship. And in the same way, you want to know that she wants to be with you physically in the sexual relationship. She wants to know that you want to spend time with her on a friendship and an emotional level. And that means you've got to guard against focusing on other things. If you want intimacy, as a man defines it, sex, then invest intimacy as a woman defines it. As I shared in the last lesson, the number one fear that women have is isolation. She wants connection. And so that you've got to be intentional about that, guys. Share enough detail about your job and your day where she feels a part of what's going on instead of a part or separate. Show interest in something that your wife is really passionate about. If she wants to go shopping, man, go shopping with her without complaining. Schedule friendship development time with her and date time on your calendar. Man, she needs to know that you want to be with her and that she is your best friend. And then the third thing that your wife needs is for her husband to take leadership in the home. Ephesians 5:22 says, "Wives, submit to your own husbands as unto the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is also the head of the church. He's a savior of the bride." That doesn't mean you dominate her, doesn't mean you're wiser than her, doesn't mean you're smarter than her. That just means you take the responsibility off of her for major decisions. Don't put pressure on her to do things that you could be doing. Don't delegate to her things that are really leadership issues. She wants you, to set the tone and set the example of honor and humility in your relationship and with your home. And that includes being willing to apologize and ask for forgiveness and accept responsibility for making a mistake or a harsh word or a bad decision. Real spiritual leadership is servant leadership. Take the initiative and show leadership. And when you're going out to dinner and you ask her, "Where would you like to go?" and she said, "I don't care." Don't go back and forth and say, "Well, I don't care either. Where do you want to go? I don't care." No, why don't you take leadership? Just ask her, "Honey, is there any place you don't want to go? Is there anything that has a King's X on it?" And if it's Mexican food or steak or some other kind of food, you've had Italian recently, well then, okay, I just need to know where you don't want to go, then I can make the decision. But then when you make the decision, then you take the leadership. When you go there, if you order a meal and she doesn't get a good meal and they don't cook her food right, you take the responsibility. You take the leadership. If you have children, you schedule a time for the babysitter. You schedule the babysitter. Man, there's so many things in leadership that we leave to our wives, and she wants us to be a good leader. Then number 4, she wants to know that her husband finds her attractive. A Song of Solomon, talks about the king praising the beauty of his wife. In our image-driven society, we need to reaffirm our wives with how beautiful they are to us. Compliment her often about how attractive she is to you and how important she is to you. And what it does, it's back to Ephesians 4:29. When you share these things like this, it imparts grace to the hearer. That means it gives her the power to become. When you share with her how beautiful she is to you, then what it does is it gives her grace to settle into that and be secure in that. And it's awesome. And, this imparts grace as much as anything else. This is a tangible way that you husbands can feed your marriage relationship, is to just affirm your wife and affirm her beauty and affirm your care for her. And then finally, a wife needs financial security. Ephesians 5:29 says we're to nourish, feed, and provide for her. Now, there's no problem if your wife works and you work, but I want to encourage you to believe God that your financial needs can be met through your salary. And then whatever your wife makes, then let that be for savings or giving or other things. God has equipped you and graced you to be the channel that he would supply your family's needs through. And so look to God, not your employer, not your salary, not your parents, not your in-laws, and not your wife's salary to meet your financial needs. These are needs that your wife has. These are expectations that are reasonable. I want to encourage you today to meditate upon these things and give yourself to your mate to be the husband that she needs, so her frustrations go out the window and she feels secure and your marriage is successful. Thanks again for tuning in to today's broadcast of Wisdom for Living. I believe that these lessons are causing your marriage to become very successful.
Today's teaching, Building a Successful Marriage, is available in a 5-part CD or DVD album, or on a USB flash drive containing both audio and video. Go to gregmohr.com and order your copy today.
I want to encourage you today to go to gregmohr.com, and if you received from this series about building a successful marriage, then go to my website and order the product. And along with that, I'm going to send you a free copy of my CD series called Healing for the Broken-Hearted. People that have gone through loss, divorce, relationship breakup. This will help you navigate through loss, let God heal your heart. And so check that out. Go to my website. Love to connect with you. God bless you. Have a great day.
Today, when you order Building a Successful Marriage in either CD, DVD, or USB, Pastor Greg will give you a free copy of his teaching, Healing for the Brokenhearted. In this 2-part audio series, Pastor Greg shares how the Lord helped him receive healing from a broken heart. If you have ever experienced loss, betrayal, or false accusation by someone close to you, then you need to get Healing for the Brokenhearted today. What God has done for Pastor Greg, He will also do for you. Go to gregmohr.com and get your free copy of Healing for the Brokenhearted when you order Building a Successful Marriage today. If you've been blessed by today's teaching, we would like you to consider partnering with Greg Mohr Ministries. Your partnership will help expand this broadcast around the world to give people the opportunity to grow in wisdom, Christ-likeness, and grace. Go to gregmohr.com and become a partner today.
If today's funny made you laugh, you're going to love Pastor Greg's book, A Merry Heart. It's packed with 130 clean, uplifting funnies that are sure to brighten your day. Visit gregmohr.com and get your copy today.
Remember, you can order resources or partner with our ministry at gregmohr.com or by writing to us at P.O. Box 7702, Woodland Park, Colorado 80863. We look forward to hearing from you today. Join us again tomorrow for more Wisdom for Living.